Hello everyone, welcome to the QuesterMage. Thank you very much for clicking on this video and for visiting the channel. While you're here, please click like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Thank you very much. In today's video, I want to take a look at the Arcade1UP Capcom / Street Fighter Big Blue Edition. In the last video, we asked what is the Arcade1UP Capcom Legacy Edition. If you'd like to watch that, please take a look at our channel. But after making that video, I thought I must make a video about the Capcom / Street Fighter Big Blue Edition, so here we are. Like in the last video, we'll talk about the physical cabinet, the games and issues it might have. But first I want to go through who Arcade1UP is in case you don't know. In short, they create flat pack 3/4 scale arcade cabinets containing pre-installed licensed games. They have partnered with companies like Atari, Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, Konami, Midway, Sega, Capcom and others. Their older machines like Street Fighter, Final Fight and Mortal Kombat cabinets really stood out to me. Now Arcade1UP have launched quite a few 3/4 scale arcade cabinets, and one of the latest ones is the Arcade1UP Capcom / Street Fighter Big Blue Edition. Let's take a look. This is their first cabinet with this form factor, so it stands at 67.5 inches tall, 19 inches wide and 23 inches in depth. It also seems to be put together with a riser, an extended riser and the cabinet itself. More on this later. The design is based on the Street Fighter Big Blue cabinet, which was actually available in the arcades. The Arcade1UP Street Fighter Big Blue Edition comes with the flat pack wood with pre-installed graphics, of course, a good quality 17-inch screen. Maybe a 19-inch screen would have been better for this one, but nonetheless it is still a good quality 17-inch screen. The control deck, which has a slant, which is fantastic. We've been asking for that for ages. Here we are. A lit control deck protector, a custom riser, a huge lit up marquee, stereo sound, the new volume controls, a headphone slot, it's Wi-Fi enabled, and with 12 games included. You can also get this cabinet bundled with a stool. So let's take a look at the games on this cabinet. We have 4 Street Fighter games. We have Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, of course, that's the featured game on the machine. Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, followed by 3 Darkstalkers games, that's Darkstalkers, Night Warriors Darkstalkers Revenge, and Darkstalkers 3. We also have Saturday Night Slam Masters, Knights of the Round, Echo Fighters, Capcom Sports Club, and Muscle Boomer Duo. So once again, this cabinet has a light version of dip switches. You can change difficulty settings, scan lines, that sort of thing. So let's look at some of the improvements that Arcade1UP have made to this cabinet. Unlike the Capcom and Midway Legacy Editions, the Big Blue seems to have fixed the issues with the control deck. On the Legacy Editions, the control deck sat in between the sides of the cabinet. This caused a few issues with comfort as the controls were squeezed together, and the side arc could start fraying off the machines. On the Street Fighter Big Blue, Arcade1UP have gone back to the control deck sitting and extending over the sides of the cabinet. The line of sight issue with the Legacy Editions has also been fixed by this new design. On the Legacy Editions, if you were over a certain height, the top of the screen would not be visible as the light up marquee would be in the way. On the Street Fighter Big Blue, Arcade1UP has by design fixed that issue as the light up marquee, the huge light up marquee, has been moved away from the player's line of sight to the screen. Good going, Arcade1UP. Now let's move on to some things that might be an issue. With this cabinet being taller, you might think that the screen and control deck have been moved to a higher position on the cab, but the control deck is actually lower, which some users might not like. But it does have a slant, so that's pretty cool. The screen position is more or less actually the same height as previous Arcade1UPs. I was quite surprised at this, as I thought that everything would have slightly moved up as the cabinet is taller. But it seems the huge light up marquee and speakers are taking up most of the new height in this cabinet. Speaking of the cabinet being taller, this cab has 3 tiers as opposed to 2 before. So before we had the riser and then the unit itself. Now we have the riser, a second riser, and the unit itself. I'm kind of worried that the top tier of this unit might tip over if the player's a little bit more rough with the controls, but hopefully this will not be an issue. This seam here is what really gets my attention. If this isn't secured properly, kind of worried about it wobbling all over the place. I'm kind of worried about it tipping over, or maybe just moving side to side if you're a little bit more rough with the machine, but again, hopefully this won't be an issue. I really want to talk about the way the games are displayed on this cabinet when you actually turn on the machine. So to talk about the games menu, I'd really like to have pictures, but unfortunately I don't. So I've made the following images as examples. On the Legacy editions, they have the games displayed in a grid, which I think is an easy to use and elegant display method. You can see all the games available and navigate to the game you want to play pretty quickly. On the Big Blue, I don't think this option's there. The games seem to be displayed one at a time with a leaderboard. I understand they want to show the leaderboards as this cabinet is online, but I think the grid is an easier display to navigate quickly to the game you want to play. So I've put this picture together here, and as a suggestion, maybe update the cabinet to show the grid with smaller logos on the left, and the leaderboard could still be on the right. As you hover over each game, the leaderboard will just dynamically change. I think the grid that we had before was really good, I really like the leaderboards, I think these two should be put together as opposed to being one or the other. Currently, the way that the Big Blue is, we have to scroll through the games one by one. So if you want a game that's in the halfway point, you're really going to have to scroll to the right or left until you get to that game. Whilst on the grid, you could just move around as you wish. Okay, a small little issue for me. From the first time I saw this cabinet, there is one issue that stood out to me straight away. Couldn't they have just added some meshes to the front of the speakers? It's one thing when the speaker's on the control deck and you don't really notice it. It's another thing when the speakers are underneath the lit up marquees. But it's a completely different thing when you can actually see the speakers right in front of you that you don't have some sort of speaker mesh in front of it. I've created and rendered speakers to show you what I mean. This is the cab as is now, and this is the cab with the rendered speakers. Don't you think that looks better? I really do. It's such a small change, but for me, a far superior and higher quality look. As the cabinet is more expensive, I think Arcade1UP should go a little further in improving their machines, at least the look of them. I know we can buy speaker covers and add them ourselves, but would it really cost Arcade1UP that much to add these? So what do you all think of the Arcade1UP CAPCOM / Street Fighter Big Blue? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? How would you change it? Please leave your impression down in the comment section. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for clicking on this video again and for visiting the channel. If you like what we do here, please click like, subscribe, and click that notification bell for more content in the future. And until then, thanks again.